In the Christian tradition, there's a concept of guardian angels. Do each one of us have one?
There are angels for every city. Similarly, wealthy people have yaksha. There are angels for musicians. They are called gandharvas.
I was visited by the essence of somebody who had just passed away. Is that my imagination, or is that a real phenomenon?
Usually in dream state of consciousness, people who passed away, they do visit us.
Do aliens share our planet?
There may be many planets in which people are living. In the ancient scriptures, they say 14 worlds and 14 suns and 14 solar systems.
Gurudev, in the Christian tradition, there's a concept of guardian angels. Do each one of us have one or several? And if so, are they in the subtle realm or are they in a physical form?
Yeah, there are angels for every city. They are called yakshas. Every city has an yaksha. And then there are angels for musicians. They are called gandharvas. Gandharva souls are very, very specific angels, specific energy. See, they bring lot of fame to them, wealth to them, but no happiness. You will see artists in general, their personal life is very miserable. They are not happy. But they bring happiness to others. This is Gandharva souls, they do that. Without Gandharva soul, there can't be an artist who is well known or famous. And if they walk the spiritual path, if they find a teacher, master, and they get into a path, then their misery is gone. They'll be happy personally too. And similarly, wealthy people have yaksha. That's the name of the archangel for people with wealth. They often have some issues with their progeny. One generation would be okay, but the second generation they will have issues with. No peace of mind because of progenies. Again, when they walk the spiritual path, then they will be happy. Then they will get over that karma of pain. Similarly, politicians, they have another soul called kinnaras, angels. So cities and places also have, they are called kshetrapalas. They take care of the place. They have a specific name for. So this kshetra has a kshetrapala, a particular angel for that place. Similarly, every family has got one archangel. If you go into this field, it is so deep, so vast and very fascinating. And coming on the spiritual path, then you get over all these karma. Personal karma, family karma, karma of the community, time. Every time has got certain pattern of karma. All that can be crossed over, sailed through.
Gurudev, is there something we can do to feel the presence of angels? And how do we encourage them to be with us?
Now, first of all, you don't need to feel their presence because you are one angel. Okay. Second thing is, when you are centered, when you have a kind heart and a selfless attitude of service to society, they flow around you. See, like iron to magnet. The magnet doesn't have to think what I need to do to pull the iron filings towards me. It's just there. And human life is very precious in the sense it brings a lot of good vibration to almost every species on earth, as well as the subtle level of angels. Your meditation, your kind-heartedness, all bring such solace and joy to angels. Don't think they only give you comfort and joy, they receive a lot of joy from you too. It's a two-way communication. When you are centered, all the beautiful energies, all the angels in the world, they love you and they come close to you. All that you need to be centered and Not think about all that and what about me, what about me. Forget about yourself. Do what you can do to the planet, to people. When goodness in us arises, godliness dawns by itself.
Gurudev, when a loved one passes on, do they live in alternate universes? And do they become our angels?
All is possible. Yeah, they do have another dimension, definitely. And in that dimension, it depends on their cravings and their aversions, their impressions of their life. But for first few days, the soul is so confused. When someone dies for a couple of days, they have left this universe, they have not yet used to the other side, and so they are in a confusion. It takes a little while for them to get used to the other realm. But once they are there, then they send you blessings.
So Guruji, Congress recently passed a bill on the existence of unidentified aerial phenomena, previously called UFOs. So my question is, do aliens share our planet? And if so, can you speak on this?
Well, you cannot say no and you cannot say yes until you have a proof. All that you can say perhaps, maybe.
They do have proof, actually.
They have the proof.
Yeah.
That answers.
But what is it?
As I said, we don't have to believe this is the only planet in the whole galaxy where human lives are thriving. How did it thrive here like that? There may be many planets in which people are living, maybe even more advanced than ours. So this possibility nobody can rule out. In the ancient scriptures they say 14 worlds and 14 suns and 14 solar system, and so 14 earths they talk about. So these are the cognitions that ancient seers have had when they went deep in meditation. But if science is also talking about it, there are multiple universe, multiple solar systems present. See, ants live in their universe, bees live in their universe, all different species, they all live in their own universe. Even inside of you, there is a whole universe of bacteria. Your intestine has 150,000 type of microbes. There are mites on your forehead. They all live in their own different areas, There are 3 different types of mites on our forehead. One live on the edge, the other live very close to your hairline, one in the middle. They don't cross their boundaries. So if you go deep into the nature, there is multiple universe. There are universe which is beyond our comprehension. Our brain is only a frequency analyzer. We can only experience certain bandwidth of light, certain bandwidth of sound. But beyond that you can't say the planet doesn't exist, the universe doesn't exist. In fact, much more exists beyond this little bandwidth of ours. So our perception, when it improves, we can step into another realm of our own self.
Gurudev, if there are multiple versions of me living in parallel universes, do we all have the same soul? And would there be other versions of me that are more enlightened?
Possible. See, it's all your reflection. But some mirrors can be such. In some mirrors you may look very fat. Another mirror you may look much thinner and taller. You have seen these mirrors, it's all you, but can be reflected in different manners, right? So all that is possible. There are 5 of your reflection is for sure exists. There are 5 of me, 5 of every one of us exists simultaneously in the universe.
Gurudev, you teach us that 99% of what's going on is taking place on the subtle. Can you give us an idea of what's going on in that 99%?
Everything else is going on there. All that is happening in the subtle first. See, hydrogen and oxygen, both are combustible. Oxygen is needed for fire to exist and hydrogen is combustible. But together they make water which puts out the fire, isn't it? So in the subtle it's happening when these 2 gases have come together and they formed water, and similarly So many cells in your body are dying every day, and so many are being born every day. So, your body is a maternity home as well as a burial ground. Our body is so. Every day there is a funeral happening in our body, and every day there is new cells being born. You know, before a thought arises, something else is happening inside us, where the self and the intellect, the mind is all involved. And there's a beautiful verse in Sanskrit. It talks about how a thought arises inside of it. When you speak a word, what is the mechanic? It says, Atma Buddhya Sametyukta. When the being shakes hands with the intellect, and then it allows a little bit of wind to pass through the vocal cord, when there is warmth and heat produced, and that stimulates the brain, and then a word comes out of your mouth. And there are 4 levels of speech. The words we speak is gross, it's called Vaikari, is in the gross level of speech. But before that, it arises as a faint idea deep within. And beyond that, there are 2 more levels of feeling and vibrations, which the animals speak. Animals can feel, and there is a silent layer from which all these thoughts, ideas, feelings, they all get generated. That is part of our very self, our consciousness, which the entire universe can communicate with. It has no language, but it is just from the silent level. A herd of wild elephants, they rampaged a whole banana plantation, but they left one tree untouched. They uprooted all the trees except one tree. In that one tree there was a nest, small birds were there, and the elephants did not touch that. The herd of wild elephants did no harm to those birds and the nest. You know, all these animals, they are from very different species, but they are communicating amongst themselves. I mean, it's something that opens the door to this other universe that exists out here. So, you find that intelligence in creation, and there is a level of communication which is non-verbal.
Gurudev, when I was a little kid and also as an adult, I was visited by the essence of somebody who had just passed away. Is that my imagination, or is that a real phenomenon?
Usually in dream state of consciousness, people who passed away, they do visit us. And it's very common. People, they visit you in dreams. But we don't have to take it too seriously, because our own mind's impressions sometimes interfere there. So our own feelings of guilt or gratitude, love or hate, or whatever emotions we have been having hooked to them, can manifest little strongly there. This is most possible scenario. But there are instances where they come and express their wish, their desires, they communicate in dreams, and then also in meditation. Many times in people, when they meditate, go deep in samadhi meditation, they can experience sense of fragrance or the presence. And the third scenario is when you intentionally invite them, invoke them, then they do make their presence felt. But there is no criteria whether it is true or whether it is your own imagination. That's why I say, take it easy.
Hi, Guruji. So various cultures have used psychedelic substances to explore different dimensions and energies. Do the Vedas talk about these substances at all? And is it a legitimate way to explore different dimensions, or does it have a negative impact on a human's karma?
Well, the substances or drugs have opened up those ways, because they could alter the chemical in the brain, so you could perceive differently. You get a peep into another dimension. But the thing is, with all these recreational drugs, they cause huge damage to our nervous system, and then it makes you get addicted to them. That's not desirable. That's not something that helps you in your evolution. Yeah, in the ancient scriptures they do say there are certain medicines and that can bring you an elevated state of consciousness. Yes, but I would say that when you can do it with your own breath and meditation, why would anybody go for drugs to alter one's consciousness? When it's right under your nose, you don't have to go looking for something that would make you sad and miserable later. Because the swing is very big with the recreational drug. Maybe for a few minutes it keeps someone elevated, but then the crash is too big. But whereas with meditation, with pranayama and breathing exercise, there is no crash.
Are there extraordinary abilities or powers that we can access? And if so, how do we do that?
You know, you call some power extraordinary if you are not used to it. And if it's new to you, I think, and you find that traits almost everywhere. There are people who can do many things, people who can just bend the spoon looking at it, and there are people who can predict. There are all psychic abilities that comes from. It's not a big deal, you know. They're all different training. If you get those trainings, then you can do that. You know, our kids in Art of Living, we have this intuition process, totally blindfolded. The kids are able to read, write, ride bicycles, play video games, all blindfolded. And it appears to be an extraordinary feat. But if you go into it scientifically, yeah, it's possible, because they are using another cognitive aspect of brain which we have not been using it. See, if you are not used to sitting on the floor, then you find it very difficult. You cannot sit in Vajrasana or in Padmasana if you want to sit in lotus posture. You have to train yourself a little bit. Like that, these different faculties can be trained, and which may appear to be somewhat extraordinary, but when you get used to it, it becomes an ordinary stuff, usual stuff.
Gurudev, what is the spirit of the consciousness of the enlightened masters of the past, present, and future?
See, you cannot comprehend the nature of enlightened consciousness. You cannot. It's like your nose cannot see, eyes cannot smell, nothing else can really know you. So, the ancient scripture said one thing, knowing that you become that. And only when you become that you can know that. And so there is no other description, whether it's waking, dreaming, sleeping, or something higher than that. And knowing that you become that. Done.